Welcome back to this special broadcast remembering Manmohan Singh. Naina Lal Kidwai, former president of FICCI, Sunil Kant Munjal, chairman of Hero Enterprise, are with us. Subodh Bhargava, independent director and former chairman Tata Communications, and group chairman Eicher Motors is also joining us right now. Mr. Bhargava, if I can begin with you at this juncture, how would you remember your meetings with Manmohan Singh and his big contribution to the Indian private sector, especially after opening up the economy in the early 90s?
Biggest contribution, in my view, can be talked about as empowering Indian business, empowering Indian businessmen, unshackling the entrepreneurship of Indians, and both in terms of abolishing the license Raj, and subsequently also simultaneously opening up the international global competition. What he made was Indian businessmen become aware, become more efficient, became more quality conscious. I think that was a transformative change in addition to many other transformative achievements which he had for the nation.
Right. Ms. Kidwai, would you say that one of his biggest contributions was to keep the Indian economy stable during the financial crisis of 2008 and during the 10 years when he was in power?
Well, 2008 crisis was something quite unique in a global term. And I must say, the government support led by Mr. Manmohan Singh, as also Indian businesses' resilience, enabled India to tide over in a much smoother manner than many other economies in the world.
Absolutely. Let me also get in a word on that, Mr. Bhargava, with Naina Lal Kidwai. Ms. Kidwai, how would you remember his contribution to the financial sector, the banking sector especially?
You know, Parikshit, I was fortunate to have engaged with Dr. Manmohan Singh in both his incarnations as finance minister and prime minister. And as finance minister and indeed at the Reserve Bank of India as well, he was single-handedly responsible for opening up the banking sector for private sector engagement. He understood the need for competition. He understood the need for new players. And we saw a lot of that reform and opening up in the banking sector also happen under him. And the benefit we had with him in these roles, both at RBI and as finance minister, was someone who no one could argue with his understanding of things that were needed for the economy. And the regard with which he was held, not just amongst the economists in the country, but globally. And I saw this in the warmth with which people like Larry Summers, when he visited India, always got time in the Prime Minister's calendar. Dr. Manmohan Singh actually hosted dinners for him. And, you know, Larry Summers, as you know, was the US Secretary of the Treasury in the Clinton government, etc. Those sort of engagements with economists from around the world also, I think, gave India access to some of the best minds in the world who, whether they were consulted or whether they just offered advice, but all those inputs came in to form what was going to be our strategy. And I think as Prime Minister, if you look at the pillars on which our growth today are indeed benefiting, GST, Dr. Manmohan Singh's period coincided with my taking over as president of FICCI. And I know how hard he worked to get GST through in order to ensure that we could have that benefit, which we are feeling today in terms of tax collections and therefore the revenue model which we benefit from. And then the Aadhaar card, a very critical part of the inclusivity that Dr. Manmohan Singh believed in. And that too saw its origins in his regime. So I would just really say that for many of the pillars on which our growth today is dependent were really founded, created, allowed to blossom under Dr. Manmohan Singh's various roles in government, and then in particular as finance minister and then prime minister.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ms. Kidwai and Mr. Bhargava, for joining us with your views on Manmohan Singh, how you remember him, his contribution to the Indian economy and the private sector. We're running out of time. We'll take a quick word from Mr. Munjal on the linkages, the connections between Hero Cycles, the founder, Mr. Brij Lal Munjal, and former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Let's listen in.
Very much so. Actually, as you know, they both came from the undivided Punjab before India got split up. And on occasion when they would meet, they did have conversations about the old days, what things were like. Dr. Manmohan Singh came, of course, from a small village called Gav, from what is now across the border. And my father came from Kamalia district, Lailpur. And while they did not know each other in what became Pakistan, but they had met numerous times in his various capacities, whether as Secretary Finance or in the Reserve Bank or on other occasions. And they had developed warm mutual respect for each other. And it was a nice, caring one, because when my father got the Padma Bhushan, Dr. Manmohan Singh acknowledged it publicly as a unique service of industry to the nation, and also agreed to and came to meet with our entire large Munjal family on an event we had set up to compliment and congratulate my father for this award.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Munjal, for joining us. As we wrap this coverage, we leave you with one of the more humane sides of Manmohan Singh. His love for Urdu poetry was well known. On more than one occasion, Dr. Singh, who was known for his proficiency in Urdu, resorted to couplets to respond to the opposition's jibe. We leave you with one such exchange between him and the late Sushma Swaraj.
आप उर्दू ज़बान समझते हैं बहुत अच्छी तरह से, और शेरों में बहुत बड़ी ताकत होती है अपनी बात को आसानी से, सहजता से कहने की। आज एक शेर पूछ करके मैं आपसे जवाब पूछना चाहती हूँ। तू इधर उधर की ना बात कर, ये बता कि काफिला क्यों लूटा। तू इधर उधर की ना बात कर, ये बता कि काफिला क्यों लूटा। हमें रहज़नों से गिरा नहीं, तेरी रहबरी का ख्याल है।
माना कि तेरी दीद के काबिल नहीं हूँ मैं। माना कि तेरी दीद के काबिल नहीं हूँ मैं। तू मेरा शौक तो देख, मेरा इंतजार देख।